crack myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that. They're like together, like peas and carrots. That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Peychauds or Peychaud. This is not what I expected. Hey, welcome. It's Thursday. It's time for a Bourbcast. And last week we did the Jack Daniel's Bonded, and I didn't love it. So let's try it again. I'm not driving. All right. Landon's watching. Hey, Landon. So this is the Bonded. This is basically old number 7. Same thing as this. It's just 100 proof. And it is bottled in bond, and they do what they're supposed to do for the bottled in bond stuff. All right. So giving this a try here. It's definitely a little bit better. Again, I'm still getting that boot leather and that oak, but by golly, I'm getting some nice orange in there, and some caramels and some vanilla. Definitely better after letting it sit a week. A lot better. So the Jack Daniel's Bonded, yeah, I could buy this again. I just know now that I need to let it sit. I need to open it, pop it, have a little bit out, let it sit for a week, and then get into it. So now that being said, I did try this one last week, and I will try it again now under the pretenses of an actual test. That Bond is actually pretty good now. All right, this is a new glass. Okay, I just broke the cork off. What the hen? Oh man, why is it always something? I don't want to push the cork down in it. That would be disgusting. All right, we're going to try something. This is an arrow with a broadhead tip on it. This arrow is what killed this coyote. Grossly enough, it's still got pieces of the coyote on the broadhead. Maybe I shouldn't use this one. Maybe I'll use this other broadhead. That one's got Vilcus on it too. This one's clean. Alright. The caption says filters and it's Vilcus. So this is a very sharp tip. Oh, don't come out. Oh, you're going to push it down in there, aren't you? You knucklehead. Well, crap. I'm going to have a choice, guys. I don't want to push it down in there. I don't have a choice. I got to. Ugh. Blech. That does not make me happy. Hey, Tyler. Alright. Doggone it. I'll try to break it apart and get it out later. That was an old trick we did with wine, but wine it didn't matter because there's a whole bunch of other corks. And wine had been saturated, the wine cork had been saturated with the wine itself. So it was less of an issue. This hasn't been saturated with it, now I got the taste of the cork down in there. Let's get that coyote out of there. Alright. Jeez. So I'm going to give myself an extra big pour because I deserve it. Alright, so this is the triple mash. Get your head in the game, Casey. You just broke a cork. You get over it. This is the triple mash. This has got 60% of Jack Daniel's straight rye whiskey in it. If you've never had the Jack Daniel's straight rye, you might try it, but this straight rye that they put in it is bottled in bond, all by itself. The straight rye, the 60% straight rye that they put in here is bottled in bond by itself. Also, the Jack Daniel's American Malt Whiskey. Now, you may not even know that they make it, but they've been making the malt whiskey since 2013. They've been making that malt, that single malt, that 100% malted barley. They've been making their own single malt for 10 years. And this is the first product they've used it in. Right here. About that, huh? So that's 100% malted barley, and there's 20% of that. So 60% of the rye, 20% of this malted barley that came out of nowhere over the last 10 years, and 20% Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey. Now that is this, no, actually it's this bad boy, because it's bonded. That's 100 proof. It's been sitting for at least 4 years. It is basically this recipe. It's the exact same recipe, but it's been bonded. So it's set in there, bonded, for 4 years under government contract in a government like warehouse, okay? It's basically a Jack Daniel's warehouse that's overseen by the government. It's got regulations and all that stuff. But anyhow, that means it's a single distillation system, a single distillation period or season, and 100 proof, 4 years, and that's this. So the three mash bills, the rye they do is 70% rye, 80% corn, and 12% malted barley. The Jack Daniel's American malt that they use is 100% malted barley, and then they use the bonded, which is 80% corn, 12% rye, and 8% malted barley. But they use 60% of the rye, 20% of the malt whiskey, and 20% of the Tennessee bonded whiskey. Then they blend them together, and it doesn't have to be aged anymore after that. They've already done the aging they had to do. It's still bottled and bond. It's still 100 proof. All three of those are 100 proof, bottled and bond. They put them together, and they get the triple mash. So that's how it works. All right, so let's get into it. Immediately, the nose is different than the bonded of the regular Old Number 7. Definitely sweeter, fruitier. Really sweet caramel coming out. Not the same caramel as the bonded at all. It's a lot sweeter. I'm not getting bubble gum. The oak is still coming out, but it's much more pleasant than the oak in the bonded. I'm getting salt, and I don't think it's because of salted caramel. The caramel I'm getting separately. Caramel if you have a degree, but caramel I'm getting separately. The salt is something else completely. Definitely has more of a salty nose. There's some honey there. And it's a nice sweet clover honey. It's not the honeycomb, it's the honey itself. It's very nice, actually. Let's see. What they say is that the nose is red raspberry, dark cherry, cola. I could get the cherry. Front of sweetness that refrain from going overboard. I can agree with that. Let's see. Earthy aroma found up front. Dark red raspberries, plum, fig, Earl Grey tea. Earl Grey tea? No. No. I am not getting Earl Grey tea. They're wrong. It's not that my nose might be a little different. They are wrong. All right. By the way, this has a characteristic just like this other one. These are not 750 milliliter bottles. These are 700 milliliter bottles. They went more with the international standard on this, and they're jipping you out of about one shot. I talked about it last week. You're talking about just over 1.5 ounces that they're jipping you out of, and so there you go. Normally you'd get about 16 shots out of a bottle. This is only going to give you 15. Those stingy people, stingy. All right, here we go. Nice mouthfeel. It's clinging to the glass. It's 100 proof. Just clinging up there, just like the Bonded did last week. Really nice color to it. Beautiful, beautiful copper color. Just really nice. The bloom didn't last forever, but it's still there a little bit. It kind of hit, and then it went away, and then it just stayed there, and it's still there, right in the center of my tongue. The bloom again, that burn. All right, this one's for flavor. Flavor! Okay, stop. Stop making me laugh. All right, have you tried the Jack Daniel's Maple Finish? Nice, fancy gold box like the Sinatra Select. Hey, Landon, how are you? I have not tried the Jack Daniel's Maple Finish. After having the Angel's Envy Rye and the Knob Creek Smoked Maple, I find myself leery of pours that have maple in the finish, that have maple in the mix. I love maple in my bourbon, but I tend to like less of it. The Angel's Envy Finished Rye is too much, too sweet. I used to love it, now I don't. Excuse me. The Knob Creek Smoked Maple, that's a nice dessert whiskey. Can I tell you that I really like it? I can have one glass of it and really like it. After that, I don't like it anymore. It's just too sweet. So I find myself being a little bit hesitant to try anything that says maple in it. Jack Daniel's being a whiskey that I don't love anyway. It's already, I mean, the old number 7 is already just so sweet. There's just something about it. It's got its own flavor. There's nothing else like it, which is strange because it all goes through the same process. But there's just something about this bottle that I've never really loved the flavor of it. I'm not a big fan of Tennessee whiskeys to begin with. There are a couple that I've liked over the time. As much as I dislike Dickel, I do enjoy the Bottled and Bond that George Dickel has. I think that's pretty decent. That's pretty much the only Dickel I've had that I thought was any good. And Uncle Nearest I like. They've got the 1884 and the 1856. I like the 1884 better than the 1856. It's a little bit sweeter, a little more bourbon-esque. Just something about it that I really like. And neither one of those have got maple in it. But again, that's a Tennessee whiskey, and you add that with maple, I don't know if I'd like it. I think I'd have to find a place where they have it and try it and see what I think. Because just thinking about it kind of has me going, you know? All right, so let's get some flavor. I'm catching a little strawberry, believe it or not. Same as I got off the Bonded last week. Definitely some nice caramels. I'm still not going to call it a salted caramel because that's not where the salt's coming from. It's coming from somewhere else. There is a caramel base. It's darker on the palate than it is on the nose. Possibly some plum, because again, it's a little on the sweeter side. This is definitely a sweeter pour than the Bonded. Definitely sweeter. And more flavorful. There's more going on in this glass than there was, to me, in the Bonded. Again, for them, they say dark cherry. I'm not getting that. I don't pull that out of there. But dark cherry isn't something that's a proclivity of mine. I don't automatically go to that. I know people who do. Cherry is not something that I jump to all the time. I don't get that. I get strawberry. Thick mouthfeel. Yeah, it's not thin, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it thick. Thick would be what would happen if you didn't filter it. But if Jack Daniel's didn't filter it, it wouldn't be Tennessee whiskey, would it? Lincoln County Process. Oak, I'm getting that for sure. maybe a little banana. That's something typical for me when it comes to Tennessee whiskeys. I get some banana out of it. What they say, brown bread is their finish. Malt begins to pull forward during the finish, providing a welcome contrast to the fruitier palate. That's fair. Layer of dryness envelops the sip. That's fair. It wasn't dry when I was drinking it, but my mouth is drier now, which is why I'm trying to get some spit. Ding. Additional rye spice and new focus on oak. I agree. Furthermore, a touch of sweet cinnamon and vanilla pull through, creating a brief reprieve from the spice and oak with their sweetness. Interesting and short bursts, but more serviceable than anything else. Okay. So, I don't know if I said it before, but one of the things that's interesting about these releases, this one and the bonded, is distilleries for the longest time, the longest lasting distilleries, Buffalo Trace, Maker's Mark, Old Forester, Jack Daniels, they've been able to stick to the tried and true, and they haven't had to branch out. But whiskey has exploded. The blending, the sourcing, the stories. I mean, how many MGP bourbons are there out there, and how many different flavors are there, and how many different stories are attributed to those flavors? I saw another one, a new one today, leather in something. You know, it's non-stop, all these new brands. So these old brands, and let's call them legacy brands, they've been around forever and they haven't had to do anything. Well, this year, Jack Daniels, well, in the last few years, Jack Daniels had started to branch out and do new things. They came out with a single barrel, the single barrel barrel proof. They came out with select barrels like picks. And now they're doing these two, which are going to be permanent residents. The bonded series so far, which is the bonded and the triple mash. They've kind of had to do it, and Maker's Mark has had to do it too. That's where they've come out with their wood finishing series and the private selection and all that stuff. They're coming out with all these different ones that they're just trying new staves. Jack Daniels, at least to their credit, they're trying different blends, whereas Maker's Mark is doing basically the same thing. They have the same whiskey, and they're just adding new staves to it to change the flavor of it. Wild Turkey, I've said it before, and I'll say the same thing. The Wild Turkey has the same recipe in everything they release. Wild Turkey, Rare Breed, Russell's Reserve. Everything they do is the exact same recipe. The only difference in Wild Turkey is how long it's aged, where it's aged, and what barrels they're putting it in. Other than that, nothing is different. So I look for Wild Turkey to start branching out and coming out with some new stuff too. Maybe they'll do, well, they've already got a barrel proof, that's Rare Breed. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what they do. But the pressure is on these legacy distilleries to start moving up and doing some new things, and Jack Daniels is doing just that, trying to figure out what tomorrow brings. What can they come up with? What's new? And that's the nice thing about, don't get me wrong, but these legacy master distillers who've been around forever are now aging out, not like there's any kind of prerequisite to age. Like Wild Turkey, you know, they're still going to be there, but the sons and the daughters are coming into the fray, and they know what they're up against competitionally. So they are coming forward and they're saying, let's try this new thing. Hey, Katrina, how are you? Nice to see you. So they're coming forward and they're doing this new thing. They're bringing out new products because they know that they have to, or they're going to fall behind. And this one particularly, the Triple Mash, is a great new product. The bonded, I'll warm up to it, I will. But as far as Jack Daniels goes, because I'm not a fan to begin with, this one is a really nice additive to, or an addition to the line for me. Now, we do have to do, well, I was going to say we were going to do water, but I don't see it down here. I thought I must have left it upstairs on the table. I thought I brought it down here, but I guess I didn't. So let's just go ahead straight to the ice test. A gorgeous ice shower. All right, put a little, you know what? I didn't water this down. I'll just put this in here. Oh, that's not enough. I was going to put the cork on it, but the cork's down in the bottle. That's so stupid. Yeah. Had I known. Stick around, I'm going to tell you what's coming up next week, and it is a doozy. A doozy. Doozy. It's going to be fun just to say. All right, so this is cool enough. The corn and the rye take over ice. That fruitiness of the barley is just out the door. Great flavor, though. Actually, really good. That oak is coming out, but it's not as hard-hitting as this one is. It got earthier. The honeycomb, or the honey turned into honeycomb. The orange turned into orange rind. That leather came back out a little bit that I didn't like on this one, but I do like on this one. It definitely made it more earthy on ice, for sure. I can't believe I didn't bring my water down. I went like 3 times upstairs looking for my water, and I know where I put it. I put more water in it. It's just sitting there on the table. All right. So of the 2 in the new Bonded series, there's the Jack Daniel's Bonded. There's this one with the cork floating in it, the triple mash. I like the triple mash better, and it kind of makes sense, because if you look at the OHLQ map, the triple mash is a little bit harder to find than the Bonded. The Bonded is everywhere. It's everywhere. Not hard to find at all. The triple mash, I had to actually look for it and do a little traveling in the state of Ohio. I didn't go out of the state to get it, but I did have to travel a little bit to get the triple mash, and there weren't a lot of stores that had it plentiful in stock. So, yeah. So this one particularly, to me, is good. If you haven't tried this one, you should. This one is good. Just let it sit maybe a week. It'll probably be even better next week. All right, so I want to put the cork on it, but it won't go on because there's no cork. What am I going to do? Jeez. I finished a bottle of Rittenhouse last night. Maybe I'll put that cork in this. Doggone it. Doggone it. All right, so next week, I got a message from my friend Kevin. And I haven't seen that Kevin is with us tonight. Chris is watching. Got mine in Columbus, triple match that is. I got mine in Toledo. I don't see that Kevin is here. Kevin. But he wanted to get together, and I want to say it was next Thursday. So we may have a Bourbcast with a guest next Thursday. Kevin. And what the message was a bottle that he found, and he walked around with it for a while and didn't buy it. And I'm like, if it's good enough to walk around with and fondle the bottle and feel it and become one with it, buy it. So I did. And next week it's the Double Oak Chicken Cock. There's a few of the Double Oak products out there that I have liked, and there's a couple of them that I have not. So we're going to be doing this one next week. One I still have to find is the Peerless Double Oak. So that I'm looking for. I know people are talking about it and they love it. People love the Woodford Reserve Double Oak too. I have had one that I really liked and one that I just didn't like at all. The one I didn't like at all was a Pick. I need to go back to it and try it again, of course. But right out of the neck, no. But this one, I'm going to open it. I will not try it. You have my promise on that. But I am going to open it. and I'm going to pour it out, and I'm going to pour it back in. So this has a chance to impress me based on an after pour, right? After neck. And sometimes just giving it a little aeration is all it needs for like a week. So next week it's going to be this one, the double oak chicken cock. I'm kind of excited about this one. I like the chicken cock brands. I actually like the rye better than the bourbon. This one happens to be just says whiskey, Kentucky whiskey. It's not either or. Ever since we started making whiskey in 1856, the barrel has reigned supreme. We start right at the beginning, selecting each tree that will be harvested to create the best barrel possible for every batch of our award-winning whiskey. For our double oak, we re-barreled our Kentucky whiskey in new American oak barrels from West Virginia for an additional year to highlight the importance of our barrels to our whiskey making process. The perfect marriage of age and wood. I will leave that up to you to decipher on your own. But interestingly enough, it just says whiskey. It doesn't say rye and it doesn't say bourbon. So this will be an interesting thing for me to research throughout the week to give you more information about this double oak chicken cock. One of the ones I really wanted, it was ridiculously priced, but I wanted the Chicken Cock Cotton Club. Chicken cock, I'll go back in a little bit of brief history. Chicken cock was one of those that was prohibited during Prohibition. So they moved everything to Canada, but they still wanted to sell in the U.S. So they would package this in soup cans, and they'd import it into the country as if it was juice cans or soup cans, mostly soup cans. And then a lot of it went to the Cotton Club in Harlem. And Duke Ellington was one of the customers at the Cotton Club, and actually wrote in his memoirs how much he liked the whiskey there, and the whiskey that he had was the Chicken Cock Rye. And now they make a bourbon as well. I like the rye better myself, so if this is the rye, this is going to be really good, potentially. So the one that I wanted to buy was a commemorative edition. It was $500 for a bottle of this stuff, but it came in like a giant metal can. And I kind of wanted it, but the money, $500 for a bottle just for, kitsch. I would have bought it. If I could have found one, I would have bought one. But by golly, I'm happy to get this one, and we'll be trying it next week. So I do want to thank you for joining us. It's fun, and I appreciate it. So we will see you next week for Chicken Cock Double Oaked. This weekend is April 1st. Fools. Oh no. I'll see you next week.